Hi everyone, in this video I'm gonna make a hammer from the Warhammer universe and also try some new tools and methods of metal working. First of all we need a 3D hammer model. The sledgehammer will be assembled from a thick-walled prepared metal. Such plate was inconvenient to saw using an angular grinding machine, so for this purpose I used a plasma cutter. Sometimes it's very useful to create something like this because first of all it helps to increase your skills and work with metal, and you can also try many new tools such as plasma cutter, TIG welding and semi-automatic welder. After the details for the hammer have been drilled they should be fitted together. Each detail's end will need to be sawed at about 45 degrees. Then there goes the process of docking according to the template which was printed according to the 3D model. All the seams must be removed and we'll get two integral details, the top and the bottom of the hammer. During the whole project there was a lot of metal working and used flap wheels. The details will be joined by the rectangles from the same material. Looks like paving blocks formed. After measuring the diagonals and making sure that they turned out to be alike till each millimeter, I continued my work with the hammer and welded the end parts in a form of 10 mm metal strips. Now I'm going to saw some decorative pieces. To do this we need to outline the inner detail perimeter and cut the workpieces according to the template. No matter how accurately the decorative elements are adjusted and precisely fitted, there still will be a small gap between the details. There's one way out: to make slots for the inserts. We need to completely disassemble the hammer blank, and in order not to get into muddle during the reassembly I marked each detail with the marker. After the assembly the decorative elements took their place without any gaps. Above them there'll be welded a plate on which later there'll be a skull with wings. The main part of the hammer is already assembled, now comes the turn of the handle. I drilled a hole for it in the body with a bimetallic crown. I corrected the hole for a pipe with a direct grinding machine. Another pipe will be put on the handle for additional thickness. After processing there are small flaws, but they'll be hidden by metal elements. We need to make a slot in them as in 3D model. Altogether we need 4 details. They'll be welded to the handle in place of thickening. Then we need to make the same slats at the end of the handle, and to weld a finial to them. The first element of the handle end will be a metal ball. The slats will also be inserted into the cut slots. The finial itself will be sharpened on the lathe. Such cylindrical blank turned up by chance. It turned out to be not just file hard, but some solid metal. Chips from the cutter came out blue. It's much more difficult to sharpen such material, but I had nothing to do as I've got only such blank turned nearby. This detail will be settled on a 20 mm thick washer. Now it's time to use the TIG torch and try to weld two details together. Welding with a non-consumable electrode is comparable to meditation. Now I understand those guys who create whole paintings in this way. I welded the bolt straight and put a washer on it. The last detail of the finial was already welded with semi-automatic and the seam was shaved. I also decided to remove the gaps on the upper slats, welded them with semi-automatic and shaved them. It turned out to be an organic hole. Now we can connect the head to the handle. I want to remove this small gap with a solder. It'll act as an intermediate layer. I heated metal from the inside with a burner and tinned the surface from the outside. I inserted the handle, but nothing good came of it. I took the semi-automatic welding and carefully made the seam, and then had to shave it. Such result completely satisfied me. We can move on to the decorative elements. They've got an engraving on them. I'll make it electrochemically. I painted the detail and made a random pattern on it. The details will be engraved in the vessel with electrolyte fluid. It's very simple to make by adding ordinary salt into the water. There'll be 2 electrodes in the container, minus on the iron plate, plus on the detail itself. Under the action of direct current there occurs chemical reaction and unprotected metal on the plate, the pattern in our case, becomes disintegrated. After half an hour we can pull out the plate and wash it from the paint. Finally we got such a brilliant decorative insert. The details will be welded from the inside. For this purpose the pins must be sawed off from the hammer's body. The skull and the wings will be cast from aluminum according to the 3D model, so I printed the details on 3D printer and tried on the hammer. I'll try to make shapes from sand with the addition of glass water. This is also a new technology for me, so it'll be interesting to try it. I collected together all printed details on plane and prepared them for subsequent molding. I made a bevel with plasticine and covered the unprinted holes. I immediately covered the detail with talc. It'll act as a separator. For the molding mixture I took sifted sand and added liquid glass to it. After mixing we got a plastic mass. I installed a frame on the model and began to ram the sand. In a day of waiting I began to remove the sand form. While the ramming the sand fell into the plasticine and still remained in it after removal. I tried another way. I divided model into the details and pressed them into the same mixture. It turned out to be a good print. I'll cast the run metal into it. I used a coal forge for the cast and tried some special founding aluminum which practically doesn't give any shrinkage. I'll cast without a molding channel and a cover, just gonna cut the excess. Looks like I didn't completely dry the mold. Aluminum began to boil in one casting. Let's see what we've done. The skulls were casted with reject. The wings turned out better. Now such defects on aluminum details are no longer a problem for me. I treated them with a semi-automatic welder. After that I treated them with the angular grinding machine, and made those small elements using the rotary files and the die grinder. I screwed them to the hammer from the inside. Then I welded the clamps, cleaned everything with the flap wheel and made bevels on the ends. And as a result we finally got such hammer from Warhammer 40,000 universe. With your favor I won't dirty it by splitting any groceries and household stuff. It's quite clear that it'll handle with them. I'd rather find some honorable place for such handsome thing. Amazing how just one object's craft lets you significantly raise your skill in metal working and try many new techniques. If you like this video, put your thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if not already. See you in the next videos.